Hi, I'm Matt Greaves, Marketing Manager at SWAT UK. Today I'm joined by David Norris, our Training Director.
Hello, Matt.
Hi David. Today we're going to be talking about IT and in particular data protection. Now, as we all know, IT has become an integral part of daily life for the accountant today, David. Presumably you see quite a lot of that with the firms you visit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even if firms wouldn't describe themselves of having a paperless office, and a lot of firms do still print files, still so much of our work is actually done on computer before it's printed, and it's held and stored on computer. And so all of the issues that firms, the big firms will have of where's my data, how is it looked after, it actually applies to nearly every firm. And I think then increasingly you also get issues of remote devices accessing it, people working from home, working on iPhones, and so even quite small firms have huge issues of data security and data protection.
Okay, and you visit a lot of firms of chartered accountants. In relation to QAD visits, is data protection kind of on the radar for the QAD inspectors?
Yeah, it is, and I think it surprises a lot of firms who think that practice assurance is primarily kind of engagement letters and looking at files and a bit of money laundering. But we've seen a lot of firms where the second big issue after money laundering is data protection. So firms need to be aware when they've got a QAD visit coming up that the inspector will be saying, well, look, IT is key to your practice, so tell me, how do you keep it secure, how do you keep it up to date, and how do you train staff into what they should and shouldn't do to look after the data and make sure it's used appropriately.
Okay, and so besides practice assurance visits, are there any other areas in relation to data protection that people need to be aware of, or are there any new things coming on the horizon that we should be aware of?
Well, there are always going to be, I suppose, specific IT risks as people have new kinds of devices, as iPhones and iPads have become more prevalent. There's an issue then, and more people bring their own devices and want to attach those to the company network. I suppose the big issue coming at the moment, and I'm holding it here, although the camera won't be able to see it, is there is a general data protection regulation coming out. It's an EU directive. Don't know what happens if we leave the EU, but the UK government's working on that. That will be implemented in the UK, maybe not next year, but it might be the year after. And so even though that's not quite relevant there, I mean, it still is an indication that firms, however small, however large, need to make sure there is someone looking at these issues, doing some training, and looking at the Information Commissioner's website. So it is www.ico.org, and I think just keeping an eye on that website, making sure that you're aware when there's new regulation, new guidance, seeing who's being fined, topical issues, I think that could be increasingly important for firms, and they shouldn't ignore it.
No, absolutely. I know from personal experience, the ICO website has got some really useful guidance on generally in relation to data protection. So that document is going to be a useful guide for firms generally with this area as well.
Yeah, and it's also worth bearing in mind to have a chat to your insurance broker about, is there anything in your PI that is or isn't covering data? Should your PI be extended? Because often we think about PI purely in the context of claims for negligent tax work. One of the concerns that Lockton's are telling us, and they run our PI scheme, is that they're getting an increasing number of claims for data breaches. So actually the work's okay, the tax was calculated correctly, but because X member of staff then takes the HMRC logon details and uses it or gives it to someone else, or memory stick gets lost and client data gets lost. If your client claims against you, is your firm covered for that kind of breach of data protection? And for some PI policies, that's not clear. So what Lockton's advise is you talk to your broker and perhaps add another layer if you're in any doubt. And the Lockton policy particularly seems impressive because as principals of the firm, so at SWAT as a director, I'm covered if there is a data breach, and that will cover compensation, it should cover IT and legal fees, and it even covers PR so that it will help us manage communication, because if you lose 1,000 members' names, think about Ashley Madison or TalkTalk or something, how do you communicate to people? How do you communicate to the press? How do you communicate to those potentially exposed? So I think that could be really useful and relatively inexpensive at the moment.
Okay. As you say, PR, from a PR point of view, that's quite a serious issue, and we don't go a month by without something else in the news about another firm who's had their data hacked into. So yeah, having that kind of protection is obviously going to be of interest.
Yeah, I think so.
And helpful. All right, don't forget, in relation to data protection, is, as David said, it is a big area. It's an area that the QAD are looking at more closely. SWAT UK's own practice assurance manual has a whole section dedicated to data protection. There's guidance and templates in there. You can find out more about that at our website, swat.co.uk/PAM, that's PAM. We also recorded one of our live webinars recently, which is now available to watch on demand. The webinar is called Practice Assurance, Key Findings from QAD Visits. There's some useful guidance in there as well about this very area. Okay, well, thanks for joining us today, David. I hope today's been useful in relation to giving you some more guidance in relation to data protection.
Thank you very much.